Hey there, fellow history enthusiast. Tonight, we're diving into the fascinating world of ancient Greek dining customs. So before we get started, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what we do here, okay? And let me know in the comments where you're retuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always intriguing to see who's joining us from around the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe light a candle for that soft, flickering glow. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Picture yourself reclining on a comfortable couch, surrounded by the gentle crackle of a nearby fireplace as we transport ourselves back to the bustling streets of ancient Athens. The Greeks had a unique approach to their meals, one that might seem both familiar and strange to our modern sensibilities. Unlike our modern chairs, the Greeks preferred to recline on couches called klini, made from wheat, barley, or millet. Bread was often flavored with herbs or honey. Vegetables were plentiful, with cabbage, onions, and garlic being particularly popular. Fruits like figs, apples, and pears were enjoyed both fresh and dried. These were typically arranged in a U shape around a central table, with the open end allowing servants to move freely and serve food. This was a male-only affair, where participants would engage in philosophical discussions, poetry, recitations, and games. Imagine yourself as a guest at one of these ancient Greek gatherings, reclining on a comfortable couch, engaging in intellectual discourse with your peers. In Sparta, for instance, men were required to dine in common messes, a practice aimed at fostering unity and equality among citizens. The Greek emphasis on communal dining, the importance of conversation during meals, and even the practice of reclining while eating all left their mark on Roman culture, which in turn influenced much of European dining tradition. As we conclude our exploration of ancient Greek dining customs, let your mind drift back to the present, carrying with it the echoes of lively symposia and the flavors of Mediterranean cuisine. These communal meals, known as sysia, were a far cry from the lavish symposia of Athens. The flickering light of oil lamps casts dancing shadows on the walls, and the air is heavy with the scent of roasted meats and fragrant wines. The symposium was presided over by a symposiarch who decided on the ratio of wine to water and the topics of conversation. The position of reclining was seen as a mark of freedom and leisure. After all, slaves and children were expected to sit upright. In the world of ancient Greece, dining wasn't just about sustenance. It was a social affair, a time for intellectual discourse, and a reflection of one's status in society. But it was unconsumed in the same way we might enjoy a glass of wine with dinner today. As you drift off to sleep, perhaps you'll dream of reclining on a recline, engaging in philosophical discourse with Socrates or Plato, a cup of watered-down wine in hand. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, whether you're dining with friends or enjoying a solitary meal, take a moment to appreciate the rich history behind our modern dining customs. Good night, sleep tight, and may your dreams be filled with the wisdom of the ancients. The Greeks believed that drinking undiluted wine was a barbaric practice fit only for uncivilized peoples. Instead, they mixed their wine with water in large bowls called craters. The ratio of water to wine could vary, but it was typically around 3 parts water to 1 part wine. Let's start with the basics. The ancient Greeks typically had 3 meals a day: akritisma, ariston, and depna, tage, while the wealthy might indulge in roasted pork, beef, or lamb. The average Greek citizen's protein intake came primarily from fish and legumes. Instead of forks and knives, diners used their hands, pieces of bread, or, at most, a spoon for soups and stews. It's a practice that might make our modern etiquette teachers cringe, but it was perfectly acceptable in ancient Greece. Cheese, made from sheep or goat's milk, was another important source of protein and was often used to flavor other dishes. This wasn't just dinner, okay? It was an event, a social gathering that could last for hours. Imagine the scene: a group of friends or family members reclining on couches arranged in a U shape around a central table. The air is filled with the aroma of roasted meats, the sound of animated conversation, and perhaps the soft strains of music. Accretisma was a light breakfast, usually consisting of bread dipped in wine. Yes, you heard that right. Wine for breakfast. It's a far cry from our modern coffee and cereal, isn't it? But before you start thinking, the Greeks were all about indulgence. Remember that their wine was often watered down and considered a safer alternative to potentially contaminated water sources. Moving on to Ariston, this was the midday meal, somewhat akin to our lunch. It was usually a quick affair, often eaten while out and about. Think of it as the ancient Greek version of grabbing a quick bite between meetings or errands. The menu might include bread, cheese, figs, or olives, foods that were easy to carry and consume on the go. But the real star of the Greek dining experience was deep knowing, the evening meal. The seating arrangement itself was an interesting aspect of Greek dining culture. Now, let's talk about the food itself. So the ancient Greek diet was largely plant-based, with bread serving as a staple. Meat, on the other hand, was something of a luxury. One peculiar aspect of Greek dining was the absence of utensils as we know them today. Wine, as we mentioned earlier, played a crucial role in Greek dining culture. The symposium, a drinking party that followed the evening meal, was where the real social interaction took place. As we delve deeper into the night, let the gentle crackle of the fireplace soothe your mind. But let's not forget that dining customs varied across different city-states and social classes as we wind down our journey through ancient Greek dining customs. It's worth noting how these practices influenced the development of Western cuisine and dining etiquette. The gentle fireplace sounds continue to fill the room, lulling you into a state of peaceful relaxation. Remember, history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about understanding how people lived, what they valued, and how their practices shape the world we live in today. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Hey there, fellow history enthusiasts. Tonight, we're diving into the often overlooked world of medieval peasant kitchens. Now, before we get cozy and settle in for this soothing journey through time, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what we do here. Picture yourself transported back to a humble kitchen in medieval Europe, where the day begins long before the sun peaks over the horizon. And do you want, forget to let me know in the comments where you were tuning in from and what time it is for you. The air is thick with the lingering scent of last night's fire and the earthy aroma of dried herbs hanging from the rafters. Instead, Agnes works with simple tools, a few wooden bowls, a well-worn knife, and a collection of earthenware pots and pans. The centerpiece of the room is the large stone oven, built into the wall beside the hearth. Agnes's husband, a field laborer, needs a hearty meal before heading out to work the Lord's land. Their children, still young but old enough to help with chores, rub sleep from their eyes as they gather around the rough-hewn table. It's here that Agnes will bake the day's bread, a staple of the medieval diet. It's bowls of hot porridge made from whatever grain is most plentiful that season. Medieval kitchens relied heavily on what could be grown nearby, and Agnes's small plot is a treasure trove of herbs, vegetables, and medicinal plants. She carefully harvests what she needs for the day, mindful not to take more than necessary. There's always mending to be done, clothes to be washed, or butter to be churned. Agnes might be found pickling vegetables, drying herbs, or salting meat if they've been fortunate enough to have some. The evening meal is served, perhaps a heartier stew with the addition of barley or oats, maybe even a slice of cheese if they're fortunate. On rare occasions, there might be a treat like honey or fruit preserved from the previous autumn. The family settles down to sleep, with Agnes taking one last look around her kitchen. It's the heart of her home before she too finds her rest on the hard floor. These preservation techniques are crucial for surviving the lean winter months when fresh food is scarce. The kitchen is more than just a place for cooking. It's the hub of household activity, where multiple chores are juggled throughout the day. Tomorrow, we'll wake to our modern kitchens. Perhaps with a newfound appreciation for the conveniences we often take for granted. But for now, let the rhythms of a medieval day in the kitchen soothe you into a deep and tranquil rest. Good night, and sweet dreams of times long past. As the family eats, Agnes already begins planning for the midday meal. It's a life of hard work and simple pleasures, where the kitchen is not just a place for preparing food, but the center of family life, a place of warmth, nourishment, and community. This is the time for storytelling, for passing down family histories and local legends. Agnes listens as her husband recounts tales he's heard in the fields, while she might share wisdom passed down from her mother about healing herbs or weather predictions. Carrots, onions, and perhaps some cabbage or turnips are chopped and added to a pot of simmering water. And remember those who came before us, like Agnes, whose daily struggles and simple joys have shaped the world we live in today. The gentle crackle of our virtual fireplace echoes the warmth of Agnes's hearth, lulling us into a peaceful slumber where we might dream of simpler times and the enduring human spirit that connects us all through the ages. If they're lucky, there might be a few dried beans to add protein to the stew. Meat is a rare luxury, reserved for special occasions or when hunting has been particularly good. Agnes rubs the sleep from her eyes, her calloused hands a testament to years of toil in this very kitchen. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the globe. She carefully nurtures the embers from the night before, coaxing them back to life with dried twigs and her own breath. As the flames grow, casting a warm glow across the dim interior, Agnes begins to prepare the morning meal for her family. The simple stew is ladled into wooden bowls, accompanied by more of the morning's bread. The family eats quickly, knowing that there's still much work to be done before the day is through. All right, now dim those lights, maybe light a candle for that soft, flickering glow. And let's ease into tonight's story together. This is often the most substantial meal of the day, and she wants to ensure that her family has the energy they need for another day of hard work. She checks her stores, carefully rationing out what they have. Perhaps there's a bit of cheese that's been aging, or some eggs gathered from the chickens that morning. As the first rays of dawn filter through the thatched roof, our peasant cook, let's call her Agnes, stirs from her slumber on the hard-packed earthen floor. There's porridge to be made, vegetables to be cleaned and prepared, and, if they're lucky, perhaps a bit of salted pork to add flavor to the evening stew. Her first task of the day is to rekindle the fire in the hearth, the heart and soul of any medieval kitchen. The kitchen itself is a far cry from what we're used to today. There are no gleaming countertops or state-of-the-art appliances here, as she kneads the dough, working in a rhythm passed down through generations. Agnes's mind wanders to the tasks that lie ahead. The kitchen begins to fill with the comforting aroma of baking bread, and soon the rest of the family stirs. Breakfast is a simple affair. Thick slices of freshly baked bread, perhaps spread with a bit of butter if they're fortunate. With the men off to the fields and the children sent to tend the animals or help with household tasks, Agnes turns her attention to the garden. Back in the kitchen, Agnes sets to work, preparing the vegetables for the midday meal. As the stew bubbles away, Agnes turns her attention to other tasks. When the sun reaches its zenith, signaling the midday break, Agnes's husband and the older children return from their morning labors. As afternoon wears on, Agnes begins preparations for the evening meal. The afternoon is also a time for preserving food when possible. As the day begins to wane, the family once again gathers in the kitchen. After the meal, as twilight settles over the countryside, the kitchen takes on a different atmosphere. As night fully descends, the fire in the hearth is banked, carefully preserved to make rekindling easier in the morning. And so ends another day in the life of a medieval peasant cook. We drift off to sleep tonight. Let's take a moment to appreciate the comforts we have. So close your eyes, let the soft glow of the fire and the whispers of history guide you into a restful sleep. Hey there, fellow history enthusiasts. Tonight, we're diving into the fascinating world of ancient cooking tools and techniques. Before we begin our journey through time, Take a moment to like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed these sleep-inducing historical tales. And do not forget to let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. But the truth is, our ancestors were far more ingenious than we give them credit for. The kitchen of the past was a place of innovation, where necessity truly was the mother of invention. It's always intriguing to see who's joining us from different corners of the globe. Archaeological evidence suggests that pottery for cooking dates back to at least 20,000 years ago. Imagine that. While mammoths still roamed the earth, early humans were already crafting vessels to simmer their stews and broths. Bronze knives appeared around 3000 BCE, followed by iron knives around 1000 BCE. Before the invention of the stove, cooking was done over open fires. The hearth was more than just a place to cook. It was the center of family life, providing warmth, light, and a gathering place for storytelling and socializing. These advancements allowed for sharper, more durable blades that could tackle even the toughest ingredients. Now, dim the lights. Maybe light a candle for that soft, flickering ambience. And let's ease into tonight's soothing exploration of culinary history together. The pit would then be covered and left to cook for hours, resulting in tender, flavorful meals. From sharpened stones to gleaming metal blades, the knife has been an essential part of food preparation since time immemorial. These stones would be heated in the fire and then placed in cooking vessels or directly on food to cook it evenly. These foods not only lasted longer, but also provided beneficial bacteria that aided digestion and boosted immunity. Early knives were often multi-purpose tools, used not just for cutting food, but for hunting and self-defense as well. The discovery that ground grains mixed with water and heated produced a palatable, filling food was a pivotal moment in human history. The ancient Egyptians, for example, developed cone-shaped ovens that could reach high temperatures, perfect for baking bread and roasting meats. It's decorated with intricate patterns and symbols. They tell us stories about the cultures that created them. The process involved hanging food over a smoldering fire, allowing it to absorb the smoky flavor while dehydrating it to prevent spoilage. From simple stone tools to complex ovens, from basic preservation techniques to the art of fermentation, they laid the foundation for the rich culinary traditions we enjoy today. It's no wonder that spices were often worth their weight in gold. It's also about the everyday lives of people, how they cooked, what they ate, and how they came together around food. These seemingly mundane details paint a vivid picture of the past and connect us to our ancestors in a deeply personal way. Good night, sleep tight, and may your slumbers be filled with the comforting aromas of history's kitchens. Spices were not just flavor enhancers. They were also used for medicinal purposes and as preservatives. From the first use of fire to cook food to the complex culinary traditions of today, it's a journey that spans the entirety of human civilization. The spice trade was one of the driving forces behind early global exploration and commerce. See, close your eyes and let sleep overtake you. So perhaps you'll dream of ancient hearts and the aroma of long-forgotten recipes wafting through time. While wild yeast had been used for fermentation for millennia, the Egyptians were among the first to cultivate and use it consistently in their baking. In a world without refrigeration, keeping food edible for long periods was crucial for survival. Smoking, drying, and salting were all methods used to extend the shelf life of food. This natural process, which transforms food through the action of microorganisms, was likely discovered by accident, but our clever ancestors quickly realized its potential for both preservation and flavor enhancement. Its ability to preserve food made it invaluable, and entire trade routes were established just for its distribution. The process of salting meat or fish drew out moisture, creating an environment inhospitable to bacteria. The mortar and pestle, a duo as old as cooking itself, has been grinding spices, grains, and herbs for millennia. This simple yet effective tool hasn't changed much over time, a testament to its perfect design. Some were so beautifully crafted that they were likely used for ceremonial purposes as well as everyday cooking. When we think of ancient cooking, we often imagine primitive methods and basic tools. Start with one of the most fundamental cooking tools, the humble pot. These early pots weren't just functional, okay? They were works of art in their own right. But pots weren't the only tools our ancestors used to prepare their meals. As we drift deeper into our historical slumber, let's ponder the evolution of the knife. The development of metallurgy brought about a revolution in knife making. Now, let's turn our attention to the hearth, the heart of any ancient kitchen. Cooking over an open fire required skill and patience. Our ancestors developed various techniques to control temperature and cooking time. One such method was the use of hot stones. Another ingenious technique was pit cooking. A hole would be dug in the ground, lined with hot stones, and filled with food wrapped in leaves. As we continue our journey through culinary history, let's not forget the importance of preservation techniques. Smoking, in particular, was not only a preservation method, but also added flavor to meats and fish. Salt, often referred to as white gold, was a precious commodity in ancient times. As we drift further into our historical reverie, let's consider the role of fermentation in ancient cooking. Fermented foods like cheese, yogurt, and pickles have been part of human diets for thousands of years. Now, as our eyelids grow heavy and our minds become hazy with sleep, let's ponder the ancient art of baking. Early ovens were simple affairs, often just a hollow in the ground lined with stones. But as civilizations advanced, so did baking technology. Speaking of the Egyptians, there were also pioneers in the use of yeast for bread making. As we near the end of our culinary journey through time, let's not forget the importance of spices in ancient cooking. Imagine the excitement of an ancient cook discovering a new spice, the burst of flavor, the possibilities for new dishes, the potential for trade and wealth. And so, as we drift off to sleep, let's appreciate the ingenuity and creativity of our ancestors. Their legacy lives on in every kitchen, in every meal we prepare. Remember, history is not just about great battles and mighty empires. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, surrounded by the gentle crackle of our virtual fireplace, take a moment to appreciate the long and fascinating history of cooking. And with that thought, I'll leave you to your dreams. Hey there, sleepy heads. Tonight, we're diving into the sumptuous world of royal feasts, where kings and pharaohs dined like gods among mortals. But before we embark on this culinary journey through time, take a moment to adjust your pillows, dim your lights, and maybe light a candle if you're feeling fancy, okay? And if you're enjoying these nightly excursions into history's dusty corners, consider giving this video a gentle tap of approval. It's always a treat to see where you're tuning in from, so drop a comment with your location and the time. Let us see who is burning the midnight oil with us tonight. Now, let us settle in and let the soft crackle of our virtual fireplace transport us back to a time when preparing a meal was nothing short of an epic undertaking. Here, the preparation of a royal feast was a spectacle in itself, a display of power and wealth that could last for days. At the head of the room sits the king, surrounded by his most trusted nobles, swans. Their feathers, carefully replaced after cooking, are presented whole, their long necks curved into graceful arcs. Peacocks, resplendent in their own plumage, are stuffed with spices and served with great ceremony. In both ancient Egypt and medieval Europe, the ability to procure and use exotic spices was a sign of immense wealth and power. These birds were prized more for their appearance than their taste, a testament to the importance of spectacle in medieval dining. Armed with mortar and pestle, they would create an array of sauces to complement each dish. It was unjust about the food on the table. It was about the entire ecosystem that supported these lavish feasts. Garlic, mustard, and herbs from the castle gardens would be pounded into pastes and mixed with vinegar or verges. The juice of unripe grapes. These sauces weren't just for flavor. They were believed to balance the humors of the body, keeping the royal diners in perfect health. The castle's steward would oversee a complex network of farms, fisheries, and hunting grounds, all dedicated to keeping the royal table well supplied. It was a year-round operation, with preservation techniques like salting, smoking, and pickling, allowing the bounty of summer and autumn to last through the lean winter months. From state dinners to holiday meals, the urge to come together and break bread remains a fundamental part of human nature. And while we may not dine on peacocks or feast for days on end, its care and attention we put into preparing meals for those we love carries on the spirit of those long-ago royal banquets. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke and roasting meat, punctuated by the excited chatter of hundreds of guests. Let the rich aromas and fantastic flavors of history's greatest feasts fill your dreams, carrying you off to a world of culinary wonders long past. Good night, and sweet dreams of feasts fit for royalty. Close your eyes and imagine the bustling kitchens of ancient Egypt, where pharaoh's feasts were prepared with the precision of a military operation and the reverence of a religious ritual. These stores were unjust 4 times of famine. They were the backbone of the royal households as daily operations. Imagine the careful record-keeping required to manage such vast resources. The scribes meticulously noting every bushel of wheat and jar of oil that entered or left the storerooms. In the shadow of the Great Pyramids, armies of servants and slaves toiled day and night to create banquets fit for the living gods that ruled over the land of the Nile. The kitchens of a medieval castle were a hive of activity, with dozens of cooks, scullions, and servants working in carefully orchestrated chaos. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh's banquets could feed thousands, with leftovers distributed to the common people as a show of the god-king's generosity. Medieval feasts could last for days, with course after course served in a carefully choreographed display of abundance. Massive cauldrons bubbled with savory stews, while spits turned endlessly, dripping fat onto the flames below. They were a way for rulers to display their wealth and power, to cement alliances, and to reward loyal subjects. In a world where food was often scarce, the ability to provide such lavish meals was a clear sign of divine favor and earthly might. The king's master cook, a position of great importance, would oversee it all, ensuring that each dish was prepared to perfection. The preparation began weeks, sometimes months in advance. Hunters ventured into the deserts and marshes to bring back exotic game, while fishermen cast their nets wide to catch the bounty of the river. These spices, worth their weight in gold, would be ground into fragrant powders and mixed with honey, vinegar, or wine to create complex sauces that would tantalize the taste buds of the god king. The pharaoh's personal baker, a position of immense prestige, would oversee the creation of dozens of varieties of bread, each more intricate than the last. Imagine loaves shaped like animals, twisted into spirals, or studded with dates and honey. Geese, ducks, and pigeons would be stuffed with a mixture of bread, fruit, and nuts before being slowly cooked to perfection. The pharaoh's table would groan under the weight of dishes piled high with figs, dates, pomegranates, and grapes, each fruit carefully selected and arranged to please both the eye and the palate. The smell of freshly baked bread would waft through the palace corridors, a tempting prelude to the feast to come. But bread was merely the foundation. Whole oxen would be roasted on spits, their flesh basted with herbs and spices brought from the far corners of the known world. As we drift further into our historical slumber, let's cross the Mediterranean to the opulent courts of medieval Europe. Picture the great hall of a castle, its stone walls adorned with tapestries and banners. The feast begins with a parade of elaborate dishes, each more fantastical than the last. But it wasn't all about show, As our eyelids grow heavy and our breathing slows, let us turn our attention to the intricate world of sauces and spices that elevated these royal feasts from mere meals to culinary works of art. Imagine the pharaoh's spice master carefully measuring out precious amounts of cinnamon, cardamom, and saffron. In medieval Europe, the saucier held a position of great esteem in the royal kitchens. As we drift deeper into our historical reverie, let's consider the logistics of feeding a royal court. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh's granaries were vast, capable of storing enough grain to feed the entire kingdom for years. Medieval castles, too, were self-contained worlds with their own bakeries, breweries, and butcheries. As our journey through culinary history winds down, let's take a moment to reflect on the sheer scale of these royal feasts. But beyond the spectacle and excess, these feasts served an important purpose. As we drift off to sleep, let's ponder the echoes of these ancient feasts in our modern world. So, as you close your eyes and let the gentle crackle of our virtual fireplace lull you to sleep, okay, imagine yourself at the table of a pharaoh or a medieval king. Hey there, night owls and history buffs. Tonight, we're diving into the fascinating world of ancient beverages you've probably never heard of. Before we get started, take a moment to dim the lights, maybe light a candle or two, and settle into your favorite cozy spot. Now, before you get too excited, this wasn't some magical elixir of the gods, though the Sumerians might have disagreed. This was your grandmother's rice pudding, though it might have been your great-grandmother's favorite tipple. Pulque was made from the fermented sap of the maguey plant, a relative of the agave used in tequila production. Don't mistake this for a pre-Columbian party drink. Pulque was considered sacred, its consumption strictly regulated and often reserved for priests and nobles. The Aztecs believed it was a gift from the goddess Mayahu, and drinking it could bring divine inspiration. Feel the warmth of these ancient beverages spreading through your body, relaxing your muscles, and easing your mind into a state of tranquil curiosity. Of course, too much divine inspiration probably led to some less than godly behavior, but that's a story for another night. Now, before you get too comfortable, I should warn you that the traditional method of making chicha might not be for the faint of heart. Despite its name, small beer played a big role in daily life. As you lie there, feeling the weight of history and the warmth of these ancient tales, let your mind drift to the countless generations who found comfort in their own special brews. Remember, while we may have left these particular beverages in the past, the tradition of sharing drinks and stories continues to this day. So, the next time you raise a glass with friends, take a moment to appreciate the long and fascinating history behind our love of fermented beverages. From the Sumerian beer halls to Viking longhouses, from Incan mountaintops to medieval English taverns, people have always gathered to share drinks and stories, a dream of ancient feasts and forgotten flavors of pharaohs and Vikings, of Incas and Aztecs, all raising their cups in a toast that echoes through the ages. Good night, sleep tight, and may your dreams be as rich and intoxicating as the beverages of our ancestors. They were more than just drinks. They were social lubricants, religious offerings, medicines, and in some cases, safer alternatives to water. Okay? Each sip tells a story of ingenuity, tradition, and the universal human desire to find a little joy and relaxation in life. It was a low-alcohol beer that was safer to drink than water, which was often contaminated. Even children drank small beer, starting their day with a tankard instead of a glass of orange juice. It was nutritious, hydrating, and just alcoholic enough to kill off harmful bacteria. Imagine trying to explain to a modern school board why you resending your kids off to class with a pint of beer for lunch. Times certainly have changed. It involved chewing corn and spitting it into a communal vat to ferment. Yes, you heard that right. Pre-chewed corn beer. The enzymes in human saliva helped break down the corn starches, kickstarting the fermentation process. Despite its rather unappetizing preparation, chicha was a crucial part of Incan religious and social life. Tia was offered to the gods, shared at community gatherings, and even used as payment for labor. One has to admire their waste not want, not approach to brewing, even if it does make us a bit queasy by modern standards. Juniang was a sweet, fermented rice beverage that fell somewhere between a drink and a dessert. The warmth it provides, and how it mirrors the warmth these ancient drinks must have brought to our ancestors. Feel your body sinking deeper into relaxation as we continue our journey. It was made by fermenting glutinous rice with yeast and was often served warm, like a boozy rice porridge. Tej was a honey wine, similar to mead, but with a twist. It was flavored with the powdered leaves and bark of a native plant called gesho. This potent potable was a mix of honey and malted grains, often spiced with herbs and berries. It was like the love child of beer and mead, with an alcohol content that could put hair on your chest, or your horned helmet, as the case may be. The Vikings believed braggot had medicinal properties and would often drink it to ward off the cold. One can only imagine the epic sagas that were inspired, or at least embellished, under the influence of this hearty brew. This gave Tej a unique, slightly bitter taste that balanced out the sweetness of the honey. Pharaohs and commoners alike enjoyed Tej, though I imagine the royal version was a bit more refined than what the average Egyptian was quaffing. One has to wonder if Tej played a role in some of those, shall we say, interesting artistic depictions we see in ancient Egyptian tombs. The Chinese believed it had medicinal properties, particularly for new mothers. One can only imagine the interesting parenting techniques that might have resulted from this particular postpartum pick-me-up. Sikaru was a type of beer, but not the kind you'd find at your local pub. This was a thick, porridge-like brew made from barley bread and date syrup. Imagine trying to sip that through a straw, which, by the way, is exactly how they drank it. The Sumerians believed this hearty beverage was a gift from the gods, capable of bringing health, happiness, and wisdom. Whether it actually delivered on those promises is up for debate, but it certainly kept the ancient Mesopotamians hydrated and, shall we say, in good spirits. If you're enjoying these sleep stories, do you forget to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely find them helpful for your nightly wind-down routine. And hey, drop a comment letting me know where you're retuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always amazing to see our global community coming together in the quiet hours. Now, let's ease into tonight's journey through time and taste. Close your eyes and imagine the gentle crackle of a fireplace, its warm glow filling the room as we explore the forgotten drinks of our ancestors. These aren't your typical ales and wines. Oh no, we're talking about concoctions that would make even the most adventurous modern mixologist raise an eyebrow. Our first stop on this liquid tour of history takes us to ancient Mesopotamia, where a drink called sikaru was all the rage. Moving eastward, we find ourselves in ancient China, where a peculiar drink called junyang was popular. Now, let's sail across the ocean to the Americas, where the ancient Aztecs were sipping on pulque long before margaritas came into fashion. As we drift further into our historical beverage tour, let's take a moment to appreciate the soft crackle of the fire traveling back across the Atlantic. We find ourselves in ancient Egypt, where a drink called tej was the toast of the Nile. Now, let's set sail for the frigid north, where the Vikings were brewing up a storm with a drink called braggot. As we continue our drowsy drift through history, let's pause for a moment to listen to the gentle pop and hiss of the fire. Our next stop takes us to the Andes Mountains of South America, where the Inca were partial to a drink called chicha. Drifting back to Europe, we encounter a drink that was once as common as water in medieval England, small beer. As we near the end of our journey through the annals of ancient alcohol, let's take a moment to appreciate how these beverages shaped the cultures that created them. The fire is burning low now, its gentle glow casting soft shadows around the room. As we come to the end of our historical happy hour, I hope these tales of ancient tipples have lulled you into a peaceful state. Now, as the fire dies down to embers and the room grows dim, let the soft crackle of the flames guide you into a deep and restful sleep. Hey there, night owls and history buffs. Tonight, we're diving into the ancient world of fermentation, where beer and wine flowed like rivers and shaped civilizations. Before we embark on this sleepy journey through time, take a moment to dim your lights. Maybe light a candle if you're feeling fancy, and settle into your coziest spot. Close your eyes and imagine the warm glow of a crackling fireplace, its gentle pops and hisses, a soothing backdrop to our story. We're traveling back thousands of years to a time when humans first discovered the magical transformation of grains and fruits into intoxicating elixirs. If you're enjoying these nightly excursions into the past, cool, do we forget to like the video and subscribe, but only if it genuinely helps you drift off to dreamland. Okay, drop a comment letting me know where you're retuning in from and what time it is for you. It was also used as a form of currency, offered to the gods, and even prescribed as medicine. Imagine going to the doctor and being told to drink a few pints of beer to cure what ails you. It's not a bad prescription, if you ask me. One brave soul, perhaps driven by curiosity or hunger, takes a sip of this mysterious liquid. Here, in the Yellow River Valley, we find evidence of what might be the world's oldest alcoholic beverage. It's not quite beer, and it's not quite wine. It's a fermented drink made from rice, honey, and fruit. The Chinese called it Ju, and it played a crucial role in religious ceremonies and social gatherings. So, let's slow things down and delve into the nitty-gritty details of ancient brewing techniques. This bread was made from barley, and sometimes included dates for extra sweetness. They would moisten the barley, allow it to sprout, then dry it in the sun. This malted barley was then mixed with water and left to ferment in large clay pots. Grapes would be harvested, crushed, and the juice left to ferment in clay amphorae. The Greeks and Romans discovered that aging wine in these sealed clay containers improved its flavor, leading to the development of vintage wines. The result was a sweeter, more alcoholic beer than their Mesopotamian counterparts. Tayans believed that their beer goddess, Ninkasi, bestowed the knowledge of brewing upon humanity. They even had a hymn dedicated to her, which doubled as a recipe for beer. His followers would engage in ecstatic rituals fueled by wine, believing it allowed them to commune with the god himself. From the banks of the Nile to the shores of the Mediterranean, from the Yellow River Valley to the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, alcohol has been a constant companion in human history. These Dionysian mysteries, as they were called, were some of the most important religious ceremonies in the ancient Greek world. Remember, whether you prefer a cold beer or a glass of wine, you're partaking in a tradition that stretches back thousands of years. Good night, sleep tight, and may your dreams be filled with ancient feasts and forgotten flavors. Until next time, this is your host, signing off from the cozy corners of history. It's the next time you raise a glass, give a little nod to those ancient innovators who first discovered the magic of fermentation. Without any knowledge of microbiology or chemistry, they managed to harness the power of yeast to create these transformative beverages. During festivals in his honor, people would drink copious amounts of beer, believing it brought them closer to the divine. It's a testament to human curiosity and our ability to learn through trial and error, and perhaps a bit of happy accident. The bread would be crumbled into a large vat, mixed with water, and left to ferment. The resulting liquid was then strained through a reed mat, creating a drink that was probably more like a thick, mildly alcoholic porridge than the beer we know today. But most importantly, for our purposes tonight, it's given us a fascinating glimpse into the daily lives and beliefs of our ancient ancestors. Their eyes widen as the slightly fizzy, mildly alcoholic beverage touches their lips. In Greece, wine was so important that they had a god dedicated to it, Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry. Rice would be cooked and mixed with ku, a fermentation starter made from moldy rice or other grains. This mixture would be sealed in clay jars and left to ferment for weeks or even months. The resultant drink was potent and often flavored with fruits or herbs. They developed advanced techniques for cultivating grapes and aging wine. They even had a saying, in vino veritas, in wine there is truth. Perhaps that's why they watered down their wine for everyday drinking. After all, too much truth can be dangerous, especially in the cutthroat world of Roman politics. The Greeks believed that wine was a gift from the gods, capable of inspiring creativity and bringing people together. Beer and wine weren't just drinks, they were safe alternatives to often contaminated water sources. The alcohol content helped kill harmful bacteria, making these fermented beverages a healthier option than plain water in many cases. Congratulations, unnamed ancient farmer. You've just tasted the world's first beer. It's always fascinating to see who's joining our little nocturnal history club from around the globe. Now, let's ease into tonight's tale of ancient brews and vintages. The need for a steady supply of grains and fruits to ferment may have been one of the driving forces behind the agricultural revolution. So, in a way, we might owe the foundations of modern civilization to humanity's love affair with alcohol. Picture this, it's a balmy evening in ancient Mesopotamia. Around 6000 BCE, a group of early farmers have just finished storing their barley harvest in clay pots. Little do they know, they're about to stumble upon a discovery that will change the course of human history. As the days pass, rainwater seeps into one of the pots, mixing with the barley. Wild yeast, floating invisibly in the air, settles on this accidental porridge. And then, something miraculous happens. The mixture begins to bubble and froth, emitting a strange, enticing aroma. Now, let's drift a little further through time and space to ancient Egypt, around 3100 BCE here, along the fertile banks of the Nile. Beer has become more than just a happy accident. It's a staple of daily life, consumed by everyone from pharaohs to peasants. The Egyptians have refined the process, using bread as a base for their brew. They'd partially bake loaves of bread, crumble them into large vats, and add water to create a mash. This mixture would ferment naturally, aided by wild yeast in the air and on the grain itself. But beer wasn't just for drinking in ancient Egypt. As we continue our drowsy journey through the annals of fermented history, let's wander over to ancient China, around 7000 BCE now. Let's sail across to the Mediterranean, where the ancient Greeks and Romans have elevated winemaking to an art form. The Romans, never ones to be outdone, took winemaking to new heights. As we drift further into our sleepy exploration of ancient alcohol, let's pause for a moment to consider the impact these beverages had on early civilizations. Moreover, the production of beer and wine encouraged early societies to settle down and cultivate crops. But let us not get too philosophical. This is supposed to be a boring history lesson to help you sleep. After all, it's Mesopotamia. Brewers used a type of bread called papyr as the base for their beer. The Egyptians, always innovators, developed a method of malting barley to increase its sugar content before brewing. In ancient China, the process of making rice wine was a bit different. For winemaking in the ancient Mediterranean, the process wasn't too different from what we do today. Now, as we continue our somnolent journey through the annals of ancient alcohol, let's take a moment to appreciate the ingenuity of our ancestors. As your eyelids grow heavy and the gentle crackle of our imaginary fireplace lulls you deeper into relaxation, let us ponder one last aspect of ancient brewing and winemaking, the rituals and beliefs surrounding these drinks. In many ancient cultures, the production and consumption of alcohol were deeply intertwined with religious and spiritual practices. The Egyptians associated beer with the god Osiris, who was said to have taught humans how to brew. In ancient Greece, wine was central to the cult of Dionysus. As your mind drifts on the edges of sleep, imagine these ancient people, not so different from us, gathering around their fires, sharing stories, and sipping their fermented brews. It's brought people together, inspired art and poetry, fueled celebrations, and even sparked revolutions. As we come to the end of our drowsy journey through the history of ancient alcohol, I hope you're feeling relaxed and ready for a deep, restful sleep. And with that, dear listeners, it is time to let the gentle crackling of our fireplace and the weight of history lull you into a peaceful slumber. Hey there, fellow history enthusiast. Hey there, sleepy heads. Hey there, night owls and history buffs. Hey there, fellow history enthusiasts. Hey there, night owls and history buffs.